Mike Ross.
Mike Ross, 3035 Misty Harbor Circle in Cramerton. Mayor Reed, welcome back. Hope you're feeling better. Since you weren't here last month, I want to speak on the First Amendment, and it's been 370 days since I learned about the First Amendment problem in Gastonia, and since then my eyes have kind of been open to a couple of more. One, Mayor Reed, I have never threatened anybody, harassed anybody. You've blocked me on social media. I ask that you please unblock me. You're violating my First Amendment rights. It's been decided by the Fourth Court of Appeals. Please do that. The ACLU will gladly come collect from my neighbors attorney's fees if I make them do that. I don't want to do that to my neighbors. I actually want to say a couple of things that weren't really on my mind beforehand. One, to the young people, thank you for getting involved and thank you for the hope. The homeless community here in Gastonia is something that needs a lot of help, and I'm very encouraged to see young people do that. That's something that's been very passionate of mine. Throughout this process, I've learned about another one. When last year in January, it's starting to get cold out, we have our jackets on, about 50 people who had a roof over their head and warmth were put out on the street. I don't want that to happen this year. We're working on getting some temporary structures to place on private property, some construction trailers, because it's getting cold. I ask this winter, please do not put homeless people back out on the street when private citizens are finding a way to house them without assistance from government. Please, I ask you, because that's something we have in the works. Please don't shut it down. I also want to talk about another First Amendment issue that came up. On Monday, I'm going to be right here in this building for the first appearance of Scotty Reed. He's a veteran. He was arrested right outside this courthouse for standing in front of a bus stop. He didn't have a noise-making machine. He didn't have a sign. He was by no means violating the ordinance that was quoted to him and several other of us who have gathered to assemble, as the First Amendment allows us to. He was arrested for standing on a sidewalk, documenting what was going on as a citizen journalist, yet he still has a court hearing on Monday. I'm going to be there. I encourage any of you neighbors who care about the First Amendment to come show support, because it's a travesty. The video exists. Go see it. And I want to talk about Mr. Rohrer. You seem to have put it past you and think that it's all over. That's what opened our eyes. And you know what? To Sheriff Cloninger, there are a lot of great, brave men and women who go out there and protect and serve. And honestly, they get a lot of really bad treatment. And the reason is because when things go wrong in that profession and the cops get it wrong and commit crimes in the act, the system doesn't hold them accountable. That needs to change. We need law-abiding citizens, but we need law-abiding officers, because it's not fair to all the good, brave men and women who are overpaid or underpaid and overtaxed to have to deal with what comes when a few bad apples are covered up by the system. And the guidebooks that the GPD has put out to me that talk about their policies and procedures are selectively enforced. When there's a fear of good officers who saw what happened that day and have a problem with it, and they're afraid to speak up because it violates the policy manual. Yet another officer who happened to be involved that day can post videos on Instagram breaking the law. Nobody seems to say anything. Nobody says anything about it. But I guarantee you, if one of us was caught driving around, no seatbelt on, standing up in a convertible, smiling there, and an officer saw them, they'd get in trouble. That's why some people seem to think that I hate cops. I don't hate cops. I hate a system that allows bad cops to go unpunished and then go on and get promotions in other departments, and ultimately, in many cases, result in large taxpayer-funded settlements. That's coming. We've pleaded with you for 8 months now, and this man has suffered for over a year because that day no one was being protected and served. No one. Same thing when Scotty Reed was arrested. A man was standing on a sidewalk. Who was being protected? Who was being served? But he was thrown in a jail cell and is having to spend thousands of dollars through this court system. Why? If cops stuck to just protecting and serving and weren't thrown into these situations where they have to risk their lives for things where they're not protecting and serving anybody, I just don't understand what else we can say to this council. Citizens of Gastonia, If you think that the citizens of this city matter, and you want our justice system, our cops to protect and serve, treat the employees, the citizens, everybody well, get in touch with me. 3 seats in the mayor are up for election next year. We can change it and elect people who actually care about the people and will work with private citizens to solve these problems. Because I can tell you, I
Mr.
love
Ross,
to hear
your
it.
time is up.
They won't fix the homelessness problem. People will.
Thomas Hill.
Thomas Hill, Concord. 2 things. I'll continue my tradition of commenting on the prayer. It was a great prayer, especially the fact that it was given down here and not from up there. So I know my opinion doesn't really carry much weight in this room or this world, really, the way things stand. But if you could please, if you're going to pray in public, come down on the level with the people that you represent, okay? That's a small thing. It doesn't cost a dime. And it's a show of respect in that we're all on the same level, which we should be. At least that's the way our country seems to be, the reason it was founded, so we could be that way. And another thing, thankful to these young people. I'm glad you had the interaction with them and showed them respect. We've been coming here nearly 9 months, and you've used your rules to ignore and not speak to this man. How disrespectful is that? You get to pick and choose who you speak to. But, you know, it doesn't matter because the Constitution doesn't matter, and I want to thank the sheriff for his duty because I've been at least threatened to be arrested 6 times this year for standing beside a veteran who fought for our right of free expression out here. And it's funny, you know, we're supposed to be equal among the races. Well, when we first started protesting out there, it was 50 feet. But when the black community shows up to protest, it becomes 300 feet across the road behind a tree. You know, I danced out there with the deputies, you know, and if it wasn't for the fact we need to get this man in there for the hearing, I'd probably been locked up and stayed and been treated to your wonderful Southern hospitality. 3 things in that prayer I heard, very good principles that we should circumscribe our thoughts and actions with. Wisdom, charity, peace. Let's examine the last couple years in this city, and then we can go back even further, decades. And are we living up to that? Are we playing God as a fool when we're portraying that this is what we want, but we don't? Being nice to your neighbors doesn't cost a thing, but when the rubber hits the road, when you have to sacrifice to stand up for somebody that, regardless what you think of the wars, and I'll tell you again, I hate them. But this man went over there and served. He answered the call. And it was a peaceful day in Gastonia that day. And 2 psychopaths, yes, psychopaths, posing as peace officers. Well, it is on police video forever. It's etched upon this man's, and he will never be able to wash that from his mind or his soul. And you have not done anything for this man. You ignore him. You won't put him on the agenda. I'm sorry. This is heartbreaking. And please, if you don't have any respect for me, please recognize the grace I've showed you and the rest of, especially this man, the grace he has shown, how Christ-like he's been. I'm telling you, I thank my God it didn't happen to me because I wouldn't be here right now. And chances are there'd be some other people missing too. Now, I'm a peaceful man, but we've had enough. And what else can a peaceful man do but try to appeal to your conscience? And quit listening to the legalistic BS that comes out of his mouth and the city police attorney. And I'll tell you what, young people, authority in this world is something. Human authority, just remember where the real authority is up here. Respect your parents, but they need to respect you back. Don't put up with this. It's up to you to change. You give me hope. My generation is toast. They don't care anything about their Netflix, buying their lottery tickets, sleeping around. Hey, I'm no angel. But daggone people, we need to look at the mirror and admit what our nation has become. And you are responsible. You can tell yourself, before you go to bed at night, and that you're not, but you are. And what else are we to do but try to appeal to your conscience? I don't want anybody to suffer, but I want you to suffer enough in that dark night of the soul where you change your behavior and do the right thing. You need to suffer that much because obviously you're not. Because the public display, and you, man, you've got all the boxes checked. You've got a, man, it's no telling how far you'll rise, brother. But I'm telling you what, for you to praise the Gastonia Police Department when this man's sitting right there in the front row, brother, watch that video and then think about it. Just think about it, brother. God save us all. This is